So I was in the kitchen beating my meat when I immediately thought, I wonder what kind of stage mod Sonic Mania has. So I quickly went to the home site of everything Sonic mod related since 2017, Game Banana. Which is not the sponsor of this video, but if anyone from Game Banana were to watch this, my DMs are open. Please do. I need that money. Whenever a Sonic game gets released on PC, there is basically a mod of any kind already in development or ready to be released, and Sonic Mania is no exception. Sonic Mania has been out for 6 years, which means the game has been modded for quite some time now, varying from character reskins, gameplay tweaks, UI changes, audio swaps, and lastly, stage mods, which is what we'll be focusing on. If you go onto Game Banana right now and search up Sonic Mania mods, you'll see there is quite an amount of mods focused on stages alone, but compared to skin mods, they take the cake. Which is understandable given how much easier it is to edit a character sprite, let alone a whole stage, since you gotta worry about level design, and if it works properly with the game's physics, then worry about the backgrounds, enemies, etc. And especially if you're redesigning everything. Well, that's what I assume anyway. I'm no modder, but I have a general idea of how modding works in any game. And it's here with stage mods that I find more impressive and more fun to try out and play. It adds so much replayability by revisiting the stage with different characters and discovering different pathways. Mix that in with character mods and you're adding even more replayability. If you ever watched my previous top 10 stage mod videos, then you have a pretty good understanding of how this usually goes. This list will only feature stage mods that are compatible with Sonic Mania Plus, with both acts playable and ones with different level design, not a simple reskin, as it shows off more as a whole package, and it can give a general idea of what a possible official level could have been put into the game, either as part of the base game or DLC. Plus, it takes more time and effort to port over and or create an original level than it does to edit the original stage and reskin it. Except for one, which I will explain in a bit. I'll only be looking at the versions that are available to the general public, so if you're expecting some levels that aren't out with a playable demo, then it won't be featured, because how can you review and give an opinion on something if it's not out? If there is a stage mod that you love and enjoy and it doesn't appear in the video, then it's either I haven't played it doesn't work with the current version of Mania, or I didn't find it worthy. After all, this is based on my opinion, so don't take any information that I spill out as factual evidence and use it against me to be negative towards me on Twitter. Yes, I said Twitter. It's still Twitter, no matter what Elon has done to the platform. But anyway, my opinion will most likely be different towards yours, and who knows, perhaps you'll find yourself a new mod to try out. At number 10, we have Angel Island Zone from Sonic Advance by MLG the Prankster. Remember the Sonic Advance games on the Game Boy Advance? Why haven't we got a modern collection of them yet? Well, this is probably the closest thing we'll ever get, so it's a start. This version of Angel Island Zone as an Ancient Ruins theme level with plant life partially covering the stone structure of a ruined sky sanctuary looks amazing here in Mania. Whether it's the exact sprites from Advance or they have been edited to give that Mania graphic look, it looks like an official version that could have been in the main game. There are indoor sections that cleverly use Flying Battery Zone's gimmick for traversal and are used very well here. There isn't that many enemies or hazards around, which does make this a not so difficult stage, but then again, there weren't that many in Advance anyway. But there are plenty of opportunities to fall to your death to make up for it. There are also overhead rails and hanging handles that perform relatively the same to help elevate the player, as well as sand waterfalls that can be used to traverse and find some hidden secrets. Overall, a solid stage port, and it's nice to see some love of the Advance series, and would love to see more Advanced stages get ported over. Next off at number 9, we have Helium Park Zone by Double Dare. A reimagining of the zone from the fan game Sonic after the sequel. The zone is filled with bumpers, balloons, and plenty of opportunities to speed through, as well as reach different pathways and backtrack should you miss one. The surroundings, as well as the background, have a pretty neon colour palette, with snow covering the ground in what feels like a winter wonderland. Now, I have yet to play the fan game this mod is based on, but maybe I should change that, because this stage has left me with a positive impression. It's a great example of encouraging you to go fast and maintain that speed, which is what the Blue Hedgehog is known for. That said, you can breeze both through acts rather quickly due to lack of enemy threat that can stop you in your tracks, making this an easy zone to complete. But the awesome After the Sequel soundtrack makes up for it. As I said before, I have never played After the Sequel before, but after hearing the soundtrack for the first time, my goodness, the OST slaps! Why was I not introduced to this sooner? But with the mod itself, it's a fun and visually cool looking zone to play through and have fun with, especially finding the quickest path to take, so speedrunners should have a fun time with this mod. Coming in at number 8 is Cyan City Zone by Double Dare. Another reimagining from Sonic after the sequel by the same modder. One of the well-known zones from the fan game has been rebuilt from scratch as an urban level with a big city in the background that looks like Grand Metropolis from Sonic Heroes, with futuristic vehicles flying around. Act 1 behaves the same as Mirage Salone's first act, since this mod replaces it with being an auto-scroller, but it's neat to see the main level layout as we fly through avoiding enemies, though it can be a bit jarring as there are moments you kinda clip through parts of the level since you are tempted to jump off and run and for it, but still, a very nice detail to give a glimpse of Act 2. Knuckles' Act 1 is a much more fun experience, with level design taking advantage of Knuckles' climbing and gliding abilities, where using them will end up rewarding you with extra rings, shields, or even an extra life. Act 2 is where we get more original, where this is more of a challenge of avoiding getting hit in multiple moments, where you are over fans and you are controlling mid-air with spike balls in your way. A fair number of these moments are present with increased difficulty each time, and if you know me, I do like a good challenge. The soundtrack for these levels are top tier, and these may be my favourite tracks from ATS. Just like with Helium Park, this was my first proper time hearing the track, and it is so good! I wouldn't be surprised if all tracks are top notch quality. Despite Act 1 being a mere simple retextured Mirage Salone autoscroll, Act 2 makes it up for being a fun level to advance through, especially with Knuckles. Whether it was intentionally designed around him or not, it feels like an actual Knuckles level. The end of the zone will play the cutscene and Sonic and friends will use one of the Mirage Salone giant revolver contraptions to shoot themselves towards the next zone, which appears to be a floating island in the form of the next mod on this list. Making its way to number 7 is Angel Island Zone from Sonic 3 and Knuckles by McNucky. A proper version of Angel Island Zone that is way better than the official version that we got for Encore mode. We get to play through an updated version of Angel Island that we all know and remember fondly with some changes. You still got the thick, tropical jungle with palm trees, breakable rocks, swinging vines, and plenty of foliage as far as the eye can see. The second half of Act 1 has been manified, making it fresh and unique just like with Green Hill Zone, and with that, offers more different pathways to discover than what the original had, with more loops, zip lines, and underwater sections. But there is still the same level design that everyone recognizes so that you won't feel alienated, especially with the special stage rings. And how it transitions to the different palettes is brilliant. You get to the end of Act 1 and fight against the Oil Ocean boss, and then after defeating it, it will transition to the flamed up orange version of Act 2. It's such a clever way to recreate one of the most iconic moments from Sonic 3. If only the vanilla version was like this in Plus, because I would play more of it rather than less. Better yet, why not just replace it with Oil Ocean entirely, because, let's be honest, nobody asked for Oil Ocean to return in the first place.
I always knew those Australians would fly down with their opinions.
Knuckles playthrough plays very similar to original except with a lot of water, since it's harder for Knuckles to reach the upper sections of the stage, meaning you are stuck in the lower sections for the majority of the level, which is flooded. With that, it makes it more unique as a Mania level. Air bubbles are scattered sparsely, which adds to the challenge, and it's a welcome change. We got the official Angel Island track for Mania as Act 1 with a fan remix for Act 2, which sounds pretty good and definitely what I imagine an official Act 2 track would sound like. This reimagined version of the original Angel Island Zone is absolutely one of the zones that surpassed the vanilla rendition in nearly every way possible. If only Mania had this version without any restrictions in terms of length. At number 6 is Carnival Night Zone from Sonic 3 and Knuckles by Rob 1986 Morrison. The playful carnival filled with balloons and various contraptions. Everything you remember of Carnival Night from Sonic 3 and Knuckles is here recreated in Mania. The level design and textures, the background, bumpers, enemies, the special stage ring locations, they are all here, the good and the bad, whether you like it or not. Including the Barrel of Doom. Sort of. Multiple paths can still be taken using all manner of various gimmicks, which also lead to some of the special stage rings. The underwater sections are also here, much to everyone's enjoyment, so it wouldn't be Carnival Night Zone without it. Oh, and the Barrel of Doom of course. Knuckles' paths are also here, allowing to run through the majority of the zone without too much issue, making him having the shortest and quickest acts in the whole game. But you do have the boss fight at the end of Act 2, so that kinda evens it out. While still functioning as the weather globe from Studiopolis Act 2, it has been redesigned to a modified green Gravitron, which is a nice change. We got some good Carnival Night Zone remixes, giving off different takes of the classic tunes by MJ's team. especially with Act 1 music incorporating part of the original prototype music into this remix. It is a clear example of a good remix, as it doesn't deviate from the original track, keeping it similar and makes it sound and flow better. This mod has helped Carnival Night Zone live up to its name of being a colourful theme park, being the longest and the shortest zone, and it's a perfect recreation of a fun zone from 1993. At the halfway mark on this list is Coral Cave Zone from Sonic Rush Adventure by the Vagabond. A sunken sea cavern filled with crystalline coral forming purple surfaces, intertwining crystal and coral bridges and pristine pillars. Basically everything in terms of decorations is here, with various colourful coral clusters and crystals, clean waterfalls and abandoned mining equipment. It is simply gorgeous looking, with vibrant colours and different hues of blues, greens and purples. You got nice different pathways for exploration by going up and or down lifts, pushing various carts for secret entries, and multiple loop-de-loops to gain speed and using it to reach other sections. As it is an underwater themed stage, Coral Cave has a few underwater sections that can be troublesome, especially in Act 2. Luckily there are air bubbles to help you not drown, but it can be challenging if you're not familiar with the level design, or on a first playthrough. Here, the bungee rope gimmick reappears from Stardust Speedway to replay its feature that was in the original Coral Cave, and it works pretty much the same as you expected. It reuses the same Coral Cave tracks, which were the first tracks I experienced from the game, but it is so cheery and a joy to listen to on repeat. On a side note, playing the stage with the Blaze mod adds many wonders to the experience. It may not be an exact version from Rush Adventure on the DS, due to the original having rideable carts and 3D sections, but it is a good reimagining for a classic Sonic stage, which honestly works well, and I wouldn't be against seeing these types of levels being reused or inspired by in the future. Coming in at number 4 is Launch Base Zone from Sonic 3 and Knuckles by Rob 1986 Morrison. Just like with Carnival Night Zone, the launch site for the Death Egg has everything you remember, from the yellow brick surfaces, the orange mountains and the forest with the Death Egg looming in the background, underwater sections, a variety of elevators and so on. Some of Mania's assets have been reused here to replicate Launch Base's level design, such as the horizontal rotating cylinders, which perform identically to the original, making great use of the mod to be more one-to-one. You're still able to go super fast like in the original, thanks to long slopes to roll down, as well as speed boosters and tube loops that instantly propel you into high speeds, making this another fun zone to replay with different characters, especially with Mighty. He is super fun to play here, thanks to this ground pound, making traversal downward much faster. The remix track sounds great, sounding more of an updated version of the original, and there's nothing wrong with that. You still got the go, the come on, and the disc scratches. This is my favourite zone in Sonic 3, given how much speed you can gain on multiple occasions, while having that difficulty spike with hazards and enemies around, creating that fun experience, and this mod does a fantastic job of recreating that same feeling, well, for me at least. Taking the number 3 spot is Tidal Tempest Zone from Sonic CD by Rob 1986 Morrison once again. Replacing Hydrocity Zone, yes that's how you pronounce it, this mod mixes the original Act 1 and 2 together to make one fully loaded stage, and it works! Gorgeous visuals for both sprites and background have been graphically enhanced, giving off an impression of an HD version of Sonic CD. The zone has many statues of Sonic and his friends scattered throughout, adding depth and creativity. There may be no time travel posts like in the original, but there is a lot to explore and discover, offering multiple ways to ascend or descend through the ancient temple system. You still got switches throughout various places around Tidal Tempest to open up hidden rooms and passages, doors, and fans to create water currents in the underwater sections. This opens up and expands the level design that Tidal Tempest offers, creating quite possibly the best underwater level of the classic era. The remix tricks deliver a fantastic underwater ambience that makes you feel like you have time traveled back to the 90s. Act 1 is a massive level, and with Act 2 you get essentially the third act boss area, with lots of secret areas and entries to reach and discover multiple monsters to destroy and obtain rings, lives or shields. It may be a short act that only has the boss, which does mirror what Sonic CD did with its levels, but the gorgeous graphics and a clever and unique way to reward exploration than the vanilla version offered helps excuse the short act length. This level mod is excellent. The attention to detail the modder has put in the design is amazing. From the destructible badnik generator to the implied time travel at the end of Act 1, it's rare, very rare to see mods with this much care put into. You get taken back how relaxing Act 2 is, despite it mainly being the boss area with a good future palette. Definitely one of the best stage mods for Mania out there. In second place on this list is Ctide Hill by CamJam33. No, you're not reading that wrong. That is not a spelling mistake. It's Ctide Hill, not Seaside Hill. Although you will see some similarities with it. It's an original zone that isn't a port or recreation from any other source of media, which makes all the more reason it's high on this list. Ctide Hill takes inspiration from South Island and blends together multiple aspects across the Sonic franchise, such as from Sonic 3, Sonic 4, and Sonic Heroes, with the aforementioned Seaside Hill in terms of level design and themes. Ctide Hill is littered full of multiple pathways. It's actually insane. You're constantly going fast with multiple loops, and with zero use of speed boosters, you've got multiple platforms to take across this multi-layered level. For example, every Sonic level tends to have a top, middle, and bottom area that are all connected, so you're able to ascend and descend to other levels of the zone at any given time. This mod, however, feels like it has multiple additions in between instead of the normal 3. And with that, it heavily encourages you to explore and replay to discover other sections and pathways that you could potentially miss. Not only the zone is filled with tons of pathways, but you have lots of rings and monitors of all sorts scattered throughout, making it not easy for you to rank up tons of rings and lives, but also gives you multiple opportunities to regain said rings and lives should you make mistakes or get hit by the vast amount of enemies and hazards. This makes the whole zone not feel empty and keeps you on your toes for any incoming moments. With the level being based on South Island, the music is remixes of the South Island theme, and they are both really good remixes, with Act 1 being close to sounding like from Sonic CD, and Act 2 close to being a Mania remix of Act 1. For the opening stage, it does have its fair share of difficulty that you can lose a life or two, but nothing extreme, as the reason I mentioned vast amount of rings and monitors can help ease and or decrease the chance and likelihood of that happening. And it's such a fresh breath of air to see that. I love the fact that the zone is a mixture of Green Hill, Splash Hill, Seaside Hill, and Ocean Palace, where you can visit different level areas back and forth depending on which path you take. Truly one of the best interpretations and a highly recommended mod to try out. Before my number 1 Sonic Mania stage mod gets revealed, I want to make an honorable mention to another stage mod. At the beginning I did say that no reskin mods will be seen on this list, except for one. Well, I am making this exception, because it's pretty freaking good. Mirage Beach Zone by Chaosone or Cyan07. I probably butchered up your name, I do apologize for that. It's a reskin of Mirage Saloon, and if you can quickly just tell by the name alone, it spots the saloon theme for a tropical beach theme. And I don't know, but I kind of prefer this over the official one. Now don't get me wrong, I love Mirage Saloon. Maybe I'm just secretly biased towards beach theme zones. They just look much better and fresher. Hearing the Last World soundtrack here is also refreshing to hear. It really emphasizes the tropical beach theme. So if you want to play Mirage Saloon but with a different theme, then I recommend this. Okay, now it's time to reveal my number 1 spot. This was quite a challenge to decide which one I want to do, because honestly, everyone I play have been pretty good in their own way. But I've got my number 1 decision now. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is this one. Mystic Cave Zone from Sonic 2 by Carnival Sonic. Mystic Cave Zone comes to Sonic Mania with new level design, new visuals, and new music. In Act 1, we return to the Caverns of Light with the glow of fireflies, exploring new heights and deeper depths than ever before, with tons of alternate pathways in a huge new level layout, including separate paths for Knuckles and Mighty. Swinging vines are here more than ever, and running through loops is always a breeze to keeping up speed, with plenty of crushes and spiky hazards around. In Act 2, we descend deep underground into an intricate cave system full of crystals, as well as we ride a minecart and smash through crystal spikes, fling around corners on tetherballs, break through the ground to find new paths and face off against badniks, both familiar and new, all the way to the bottom of this tall vertical level. The remix Mystic Cave music are fire! Both of these tracks are like my favourite ones I ever heard for this zone. This is truly a Mania-fied level, as you can easily mistake it from the official Mania level or even DLC, thanks to a healthy mixture of the original and new level design combined. And not only enemies have been redesigned, but the bosses as well to suit the mining nature of the zone. Mystic Cave is what I believe to be one of those rare, underrated zones that never seem to get revisited. And it sucks because I want the zone to make a comeback, which is funny given how majority of the fanbase don't really want past zones to return, especially the big 3. The fact that there is a mod of Mystic Cave in Sonic Generations just as well shows how much of a beloved zone it is. Now, is there some bias with Mystic Cave being my number 1? Yes, but this download mod is super polished and a blast to play through, so yeah, of course it perfectly fits. That's the number 1 spot for me. It truly feels like a Mania level with its own uniqueness as a revisited stage. It also takes the gameplay mechanics certain characters use and incorporates the level design as part of it, and that's pretty cool and creative. It makes the level even more unique and not just a case of a level where everyone can go through the same area, and that is why it is my #1 pick for the best Sonic Mania stage mod. So there you have it. These are, in my opinion, the best stage mods that the modding community has to offer for the past half decade. We have seen some amazing work be put into many different stages in one of the best classic Sonic games in recent times, which help expand and prolong its importance in Sonic's history. And these stages are a prime example of excellence that the modding community are capable of, adding in extra content to showcase what the game could do further. If you are interested, I have done a top 10 stage mod video for Generations and Forces, so please check them out. I can guarantee you they are worth your time, and you may come across a mod that you were unaware of before. So thank you so much for watching, take care.